Hello there, people of the internet. I'm out here making videos and I got a really good idea while I was making these videos. Because I'm out here firing 8mm Mauser surplus ammunition, and every now and then whenever I fire some of this stuff, I get a dud or a hang fire or something like that. So yeah, hold on, before we start on that, the ammunition that I'm running and the rifles I'm running are not only not free, they're not cheap. If you want to support my work, links to Utreon and Patreon are in the description below. There's been a couple of times where I've been out here and I've had duds and hang fires with both of the types of surplus ammunition I run. I have, where is it at? This is Yugoslavian 198 grain full metal jackets. This stuff is pretty good, but every now and then I will get a hang fire. And I have some Turkish 8mm Mauser ammunition as well. Every now and then I get a hang fire with this as well. Well, normally whenever I run ammunition through these, I have my Kar 98, which is a 98 action, nice and strong. This is what I run my Turkish ammunition through because it's a very strong action. And Turkish ammunition runs a little hotter. Well, every now and then, whenever I get myself a hang fire with this Turkish ammunition, just making sure the rifle is clear, whenever I get a hang fire with this Turkish ammunition, you know, I'll sit there, I'll wait for my 30 seconds or so, and you always want to wait like the 30 seconds or so, because I have seen cartridges detonate after 30 seconds, so you want to sit there and you want to wait for it. You know, we're not in a situation where we're fighting for our lives, just burn off the half a minute. But while I'm waiting for that, in order to recock the rifle and strike the primer again, try and set it off, what I do with this right here, since this is a cock on open action, all I do is I lift the bolt handle and I lay it back down. Now, in the event that the cartridge goes off while the bolt handle is lifted, yes, it would suck, causing out of battery detonation, since the rifle is not currently in battery. However, the weight and mass of the bolt handle will do an excellent job of containing the cartridge inside of the chamber long enough for the cartridge to have dealt with most of the explosion, and the pressures aren't going to be nearly as high as if the cartridge had detonated outside of the chamber. Whenever that bolt finally opens, you know, because you will have the bolt open and fly back, but whenever that bolt finally opens and flies back, the pressure will have been lowered substantially, as opposed to, say, if I got a hang fire with my Turkish Mauser right here, which is a 93 action, which is a cock on close action. I'm sure some of you guys see where I'm going with this right here. This being a cock on close action, if I, pull the trigger and I get myself, click, I get myself a hang fire, in order to recock this rifle, I can't just lift the bolt handle up, still keeping the cartridge completely enclosed inside of the chamber, although out of battery. I can't just lift the handle up and then lift it back down, because it is not a cock on open action, it is a cock on close action. So I have to lift the handle up, and I have to pull the charging handle back to about this far in order to catch onto the sear so I can cock my rifle. Well, if the cartridge detonates with that much of the cartridge exposed, you're going to get a blast of hot brass and shrapnel right to the face and neck. So yeah, that's one of the things I really, really dislike about the cock on close system. It can be a very fast system, and there's a lot of rifles out there that use it, but I definitely prefer the cock on open whenever I'm running surplus ammunition. There's nothing more nerve-wracking than pulling the trigger on this thing and hearing it go click, and then knowing I have a hang fire or a dud situation. So I actually, for this particular rifle, and basically all of my cock on close rifles, I will sit there and I will wait for like upwards of a minute, just to make sure that I'm not getting a hang fire before I decide to go ahead and try to recock that system. Now, there are rifles out there. These right here are my Mausers that I have particular, what's the word I'm looking for, grievances with whenever it comes to this, because you actually have to take these rifles out of battery in order to recock them. Whereas something like, for example, the Mauser over here. This is a cock on open action as well. Basically, just like the Mauser, I'm not saying the mechanics and whatnot are like the Mauser, but just like the Mauser 98, this is a cock on open system, meaning as you open the bolt, you can see the sear on the back of the bolt lift and cock itself. This is a cock on open action, so if I get myself a dud or a hang fire, all I have to do is lift the bolt and then close it back down, and I don't have that brass exposed to me. So the beauty about rifles like this right here, if you look on the back right here, you got this big old cocking piece right there. That is for the safety of the rifle. Pull that back, turn it sideways, it blocks the sear on the receiver itself. That's a pretty good effective safety. But if you're out there shooting and you hear a click, you don't have to take the rifle out of battery at all. You just grab your, I don't really want to call it a cocking piece, but I guess that's kind of what it is. Just grab your cocking piece, pull it back, and you can recock your rifle without ever having to take it out of battery. So that's definitely a perk on a system like the Mauser as opposed to the Mauser rifles. Or on the opposite end of the spectrum, this is a 1918 number 1 Mark III, I believe. Are you a 1918? Yes, this is a 1918 Mark III rifle. But this right here is a cock on close action. So just like the Mauser 93, if this did not have a cocking piece on it, I would have to pull this back to about this far in order to recock the rifle, and you would have that much brass exposed if you were dealing with a dud or hang fire. And if that detonates in that time, you know, right into your face, that would not be a good situation. But you have to pull that bolt back out of battery in order to close the bolt and recock the rifle so you can get another round off. However, with the Enfield series, they thought of that. We got ourselves this nice little cocking piece right here on the back of the receiver. And much like with the Mauser, you don't have to take this rifle out of battery at all. You can just grab that, pull it back, now your rifle's been recocked and is ready to fire. I actually really like having cocking pieces on my rifles, and they're not uncommon. As a matter of fact, I think the Mauser system is like the only rifle that I can think of that doesn't actually have, like the only common rifle I can think of that's a military surplus rifle, other than, you know, things that aren't automatic. The only bolt action surplus rifle I can think of that doesn't have a cocking piece on it, like the Arisaka, I think that you can cock that rifle, but that's also a Mauser action. I'll have to check on that one because I'm not positive about it. And with French rifles, I don't think that you can cock those either, but I'm also pretty sure that's a copy of at least influence from the Mauser action. But I also do not have, whenever I say something like that, I'm talking about the Moss 36 example, but I also don't have one of those, so I'll have to check that out. I guess the Vetterli rifle you can't cock as well. I guess there are a couple rifles out there besides Mauser, but World War II era, there were very few that didn't have cocking pieces. Alright, well I have some ammunition here that I can burn through these. Go ahead and do my Yugoslavian ammunition here first. This right here is my Turkish Mauser that I'll be running these through. And this is a 93 pattern, which is a cock on close action. So as I close this, the sear catches right about here. So that's about, like, that's the minimum I would have to come back in order to catch the sear and recock the rifle. And that's a lot of exposed brass right there. I don't want that blowing up in my face. So that's just one thing to bear in mind if you're dealing with a cock on open versus cock on close action. All right, I'm gonna go for the steel. Let me see if I can stand it back up. Well, a little bit of a hang fire, but I still hit our steel. Try that again. Ah, I almost got it to stand back up. That's a good example. There, hang fire. This is just surplus ammunition. That's something that happens. But since we're running 8mm Mauser ammunition, where's that Turkish stuff I got? I got some of that right here. With this Turkish stuff out of this Car 98, I have a heavy firing pin spring in this Car 98, so I don't get duds and hang fires as often, but every now and then I'll get them. So with this one right here, I definitely feel more comfortable not having that exposed brass dealing with a dud or a hang fire, as opposed to my Turkish 93 action cock on close system. Now let me see if I can stand that target up. I think I missed it. Might have aimed a little too high. I'm aiming for the upper corner. This way it like smacks it upwards. There, almost had it standing up. Let me try that again. Well, fuck you too, target. Fine, I didn't feel like standing you up anyway. Alright, what's next? I have some 7.62 x 54 rim. This is just cheap tool ammunition, steel case stuff. Not as cheap as 54 rim used to be. I miss the days where you could go out and get yourself the surplus spam cans for like You could pick up 440 rounds for like $50 way back in the day. I bet a lot of us miss those days. All right, so this is 7.62 by 54 rimmed from a Mauser. If I was firing surplus stuff, very seldomly do you get hang fires with surplus 54 rimmed. Not unless you're getting it from like a sketchy source, but Russian 54 rimmed, they're typically stored well, especially from a spam can. In the event that you get duds or hang fires, you don't have to take this rifle on a battery. You just kind of pull the cocking piece back and you can recock your rifle. Damn, 54 rimmed hits hard. Look at all the smoke down there from the concrete being torn up. Man, that poor steel has been through so much. All right, you know what? I'm out here. I think I have some 303 in my pocket. Yeah, I got the 303 right here. I may as well run some 303 through this. 303 ammunition has gotten to the point to where it's quite expensive, so I've only got 2 rounds of this stuff, and I don't have much 303 British ammunition. That said, this brass right here is reloadable, but even then, brass only has so much life behind it. Let's go ahead and send it around here. I think I missed the steel. Oh god, that's an expensive miss right there. This is not surplus stuff, by the way. This is PPU new production. There we go. Alright, so this rifle seems to shoot slightly high at the distance we're at. And that makes sense. Looks like it's zeroed out for 200 yards, as opposed to the others, which are 100. That makes sense. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for watching. I do appreciate your time. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are down below. This is just something that I came up with while I was shooting this surplus stuff. And whenever I was out here, I'd get duds and hang fires with this rifle. And as I was opening it, I was like, God, I don't like how exposed that brass is. If that detonates, it's gonna take out my face. I don't like that. But I noticed that I was not having that issue with my 98 model because it is a cock on open action as opposed to a cock on close. So this right here definitely, if you have like good ammunition, would be a faster system than the cock on open system, with it being a cock on close system. As a matter of fact, the British running these rifles right here, their opposing forces saw them running these rifles so well that they thought they had self-loading rifles. That is a tremendous feat. Like I was saying, thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below, link to all sorts of stuff. Go and go check that out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see y'all on the next episode, and let's see what the comments have to say about this one. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. Shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.